What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to another F1 2017 preview video. If you did miss the career mode preview part 1 that we uploaded yesterday, be sure to go check it out. You can click it on the top right and go to that video, and you can check it out. But in today's video, we're going to look at the championships mode. So this is a brand new area of the game, separate from the career mode, which offers very different one-off kind of experiences and kind of little mini championships. You've got the invitational events here. Those are unlocked from the career mode, so you can replay the invitational events you unlock in career. But if we go into championships, you can see we've got a big variety. I was actually very impressed looking at the looking through these menus at how many different championships they have. Obviously, to kick things off on the left, they've got this standard. You can just do the 2017 season as a driver, the full 20 race calendar. But as we move on, then you've got little different kind of events like the classic championship season, doing classic cars, a sprint championship which involves reverse grid orders, in fact, as well, which is just awesome. It's awesome to see that they've actually implemented these very cool things where it's you don't have to do it yourself. It's all done in-game. They've made the structure for it. They've actually put in reverse grids using the previous qualifying for the next race's grid order results or things like that. You've got the double-header tour, so you go twice. You've got a sprint mode, and then you've got a main race. So it's almost like a GP2 or GP3 race weekend, that double-header tour championship where you have a little kind of main race and then a sprint race at the same exact circuit. So just such a big variety of things to do. You've got the sprint spec racing series, again just sprint modes basically, and it will utilize the short circuits. Classic street series where you are all in the classic cars and it's your chance to kind of take on different cars from different eras. The classic all-weather championship, so varying up the actual weather as well, so it's fully dynamic. And then the rest of the championships are actually locked at this time. You can see that they require different points. You've got 3, 6, and then as we scroll on through, we've got 12 for the Premier multi-class championships. You can see on the top right, total points allocated. Those you're earned from doing the previous ones that are already there from the get-go. So if you earn enough points, you can unlock them, and it goes all the way to even 24 GP Endurance Leagues, 27 Hot Lap Challenge Tour, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of curious to see what that's all about. Probably, I'm guessing, kind of time trial kind of things. American GP Series, Classic Endurance Races, Wet Weather Racing Leagues, European GP Championships. Just you can see clearly so much variety in what you can do in these championship modes, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. But it's a really good sign that that's going to really help casual players get into the game. Of course, maybe all of you guys that watch YouTube videos on F1 2017 and previous F1 games, we're all going to play career mode a lot. But thinking about the casuals, and that's a big part of the game. To grow the game that is F1, to make the game bigger, because we're a very small game franchise in comparison to AAA titles like FIFA or anything like that. So to grow this game, you need kind of like one-off championship modes like this to get casual people playing. And also at the same time, to be honest, I'm gonna play it as well, because it's a very different thing. We've never had reverse grid orders or anything like that in the career mode. So to have that kind of thing all built into the game where I can hop in for what is it going to be, 5 races, maybe 4 races in a little mini championship, things like reverse grid, taking what the qualifying was from the previous round and using that as the grid for the next race, or doing the grid from the race results for the next round being the starting grid. Things like that just mixes things up, and obviously using the classic cars and the modern cars, it's a nice change of pace. But we're gonna jump into the classic car series, the street series here for this video. We're actually in the 2004 Ferrari car, and you can just listen to that absolutely awesome engine sound. Such high RPM compared to what we're used to now with the current era cars. But it's a one-shot quali and then a 25% race here up against a whole load of mix of cars. We've got the RB6, the 2010 Red Bull car. I believe we also have Fernando Alonso's Renault from the 2006 era. We've also got the 02 Ferrari, I believe, as well, and maybe also a third class of Ferrari car. I'm not too sure. But we're in the 04 Ferrari car. Now, technically, this is probably going to be the best car out of the entire lot that we're doing this race with. So even though I'm doing the one-shot quali, basically just doing it just to kind of showcase the sound and everything like that. You can hear it in the background as I'm talking, and you can just get a feel for the handling straight away. But actually, by the end of this, I'm just going to quit out the qualifying. I'm going to start from the back, because this car is an absolute beast on the straights. You can see the Red Bull car is actually pulling away from us a little bit in the corners, but on the straights, I mean, just listen to it. It's just a monster. It just pulls like nothing, and it is going to be the fastest car out of this entire lot. So I'm going to start from the back just to make things interesting and have a little bit of fun overtaking some cars. Give us a good opportunity also to look around the cars. Oh, that's it. I forgot about the other car that it's involved in this series. It must be the McLaren Hamilton's one from '08. But we're going to get straight into it then. We're going to go to 5 red lights for the Canadian Grand Prix. 18-lap challenge here. We're from P20. Let's see how far up the grid we go. And we're underway as 5 laps go out. It's a pretty damn good start for us. We immediately jump 19th place, and we're going to try and get into 18. You can see going side by side the Renault and the Red Bull cars. We've got, I think, four RB6s. I believe we also have 4 of these '04 Ferrari cars, and I think 3 of them are up front in the top 3 positions. You can see on the mini-map there, my teammate technically is out in the lead of this Grand Prix. So we try and nip it down the inside of one of the RB6s. Doesn't quite work. Also, if you're wondering what the names are for all these drivers, basically, to get around the licensing and actually use these classic cars in this very cool way, basically all these drivers are very randomized driver names. They've actually, Codemasters have got in like actors and stuff to do all the face capture stuff. So you saw there in the cutscene previously, there are actually like real life people, you know, kind of captured in game, animated, but all the names are very randomized just so we can actually have this kind of way. So, you know, props to Cody's for actually working it out with FOM, because otherwise things like this wouldn't be possible. So we try and dive down the inside now to try and get up into P15. We can down the inside. Also, that was another funny thing. You can see using first gear. That was something I had to get used to, because obviously in the 2017 cars, you don't really use first gear at all. Like, it's a starting gear pretty much. So, yeah, I kind of had to get used to using first gear again. But look at the speed we've got in the 04 car. It's just mad. It just pulls so much. The RPM's crazy as well, because obviously it's like 20, you know, near full 20,000 plus, whereas we're used to in 2017 cars it's pretty much like, what was it, like around 16,000, if that, you know, 14,000 really at most of the straights you go down the 2017 cars. So just that alone makes the engine sound sick, but obviously, you know, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. So we try and close up. We're up into P14 now, so doing pretty well. You can see now, though, on the right-hand side, you may be able to see it. I'm not too sure if it'll turn up on the YouTube video, but a little dot of rain there, a little spit of rain, and it is overcast here in Canada. So this race is going to showcase quite well the kind of newer dynamic weather system that's in the game, and the fact that it's going to be a lot more changeable and a lot less predictable. And it's showcased very well here, because Lee Mathers talked about it plenty in interviews, but I also personally wasn't too sure how it was actually going to work and how that was actually going to play out, in terms of, he said there was so many different scenarios, and he even mentioned it may rain a little bit and then it may go away. So it actually may be a case of you and the entire grid may be struggling out on a damp circuit for a little bit, and you may want to come back in, as we now once again down the back straight just absolutely tank past the McLaren cars there. And now we close up. We've got Maria Lawson second fast lap of the Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure she's in the other Ferrari 04 car. I think there's 3 up front as we go round the outside, down the inside, trying to get P10, and actually the AI does come back on us, so fair play. Tried to nip it down the inside there, having none of it there, so good to see. But we do a little bit of a switchback move, the lovely, infamous switchback move that I've loved to do on the previous F1 games. Nip it down the inside of the first chicane, and we just about make it. You can see definitely the track getting a little bit damp, going a little bit sideways, opposite lock, having to kind of slide the car around. That's another thing, you know, this car may have the power in the back end, definitely doesn't have the downforce compared to maybe some of the more modern cars like the 08 McLaren, the 06 Renault, and especially the 2010 Red Bull car. The 2010 Red Bull car, I was actually speaking to David Greco, who obviously has done the handling for this game, and you've seen plenty of gameplay from him in some of the previous videos. But I was talking to him at the F1 2017 launch event yesterday on Thursday morning, and he was trying to describe to me how basically the different characteristics of the cars go, and a very interesting way of comparing the Red Bull RB6 to, per se, you know, this 04 Ferrari or the 06 Renault car is the RB6 is probably the lightest car throughout all of these, and is probably the best in terms of downforce and mechanical grip through the corners, but it's very slow, obviously, because of that V8 engine. And then when you compare the 04 car to, per se, the Renault 06 or the McLaren, you know, those cars will have a more pointier front end, whereas this Ferrari, you know, when you turn in, you can feel there's that sense of understeer. It doesn't have the actual front end. I mean, if you just, you know, one look at the front wing, and you'll see why, basically, obviously, for obvious reasons, just that era period. Obviously, they weren't up to the level then they got to at 06 and 08, when they looked like absolute just rocket ships on wheels. But yeah, really nice to see there's actually very dynamic differences in the cars. You know, if you go back to the couple of the older Ferraris, the V12 Ferrari they have in here, which is the last V12 car ever made, that one has such a loose rear end and such a lack of downforce that it's got some okay mechanical grip, but then if you go through, let's say, the triple right-hander at USA in the last sector we were trying in the launch event, it was so hard to control on the rear end. It was a lot of fun, but it's nice to see that there's such that difference in control and how you need to maybe attack the circuit, the circuit to circuit, depending on the car, you know, if it actually suits the circuit or not. But we're now getting up into, hopefully, P8. This shouldn't be too much of an issue. Sparking away there. I think that may be the 02 Ferrari. I can't quite tell from here. Obviously, overcast conditions makes it a little bit harder in terms of the lighting. But now we're catching up to the Red Bull cars. I think another pair of 2 RB6s here. And you can see, just look at the speed we've got against these Red Bull cars. Absolutely ridiculous. We lock up on the left tyre, just about make it through here. But all this while, you can see now, on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, and in the middle of the screen, and there you just saw a little splurge and a smudge. Now the rain is starting to come down on lap 5. But you'll see later on, you can see even I'm losing some grip here. Through that first chicane, have to go defensive a little bit and look behind me at the Red Bull car. So the rain's coming down, the track's getting damp, but it's not time yet for the dries, and my engineer's not actually going to tell me it's going to be time for the full wets for some time, and yet I'm still struggling on a little bit of a damp circuit. So dyno weather really on show here, and actually as we move on to lap 6 through this first sector, actually going to make a bit of a mistake here. We get on the power a bit too early here, go a little bit sideways. We just about save it and don't actually lop off our front wing there, thankfully, on the left-hand side. But one of the RB6s does get me, Murray, there, so we have to try and re-overtake him, but we just about hang it ahead of the second one behind us. So doing with defensive driving, you can see just struggling to get the traction down in first and second gear, but then you can see as we look behind, just pulling away straight away on the straight. So eventually we do pull back up as we move on to the end of lap 7, back to Murray in that first and last RB6 that we'll be seeing this afternoon, hopefully, as we go through the final chicane. And they've actually, I did mention that, they've reprofiled that chicane. Actually, they've changed some of the curbings a little bit, and it's a little bit nicer flowing. And in 2016 it was a little bit awkward to go through. You basically either had to go very, very slow to not kind of smash over the bumps, or you went over the bumps and basically just cut the corner. They've kind of reprofiled it a little bit. I feel like it's definitely got a bit of a better flow, I think, in my opinion. And I was talking to Callum as well, and he agreed with me when he was playing it yesterday. So we move on to lap 9. And you can see on the left-hand side and on the top left, we've got some people in the pits on the wet tyres. Obviously, unlike 2017, it's just dry compound and wet compound. So there's no difference in different tyre compounds in terms of like intermediate to wet. It's just dry to wet. So we continued on for one more lap, actually. Probably wasn't the correct decision, but because there were so many of the 04 Ferraris coming to the pits, I thought I'd probably get double stacked or something like that, because it said my teammate was in the pits. So I didn't bother to come in. But now we come in now for our pit stop. Once again, a chance to see the engaged clutch, and then we release it just about on time. I probably could have done a little bit earlier here. And then once again, just like the career mode video from yesterday, I had a little bit of hesitation of like pressing the pit limiter, because you can see here, it takes me till about then to actually hit the pit limiter and then go off. So I need to get used to that, to kind of hit the pit limiter straight away as we exit. I got it quite correctly on the entry to the pit lane. But we've come out in P6 now still, so we haven't lost a place to the RB6s. And we actually gained some time on P5 here. So I think we could be on, maybe, to just about bag the podium by the end of this race. We'll have to see. But now you can see struggling a little bit on the wet tyres, having to get used to them. But now I'm going to quieten up for the rest of this race, actually, now. So we've got 7 laps left, and I'll let you guys enjoy the raw gameplay and the sounds. And you can see if we're going to be able to challenge, maybe, just for the podium. You can see in the mini-map there. And then I'll come back right at the end of the video. So in the end, we just about managed to bag third place there and get on the podium position, which I'm really glad, because then we can now see the animation actually with the custom kind of, as I mentioned, the different kind of just random actors that the Codemasters have kind of hired in for these drivers, and then also my avatar as well. And it's something I didn't mention in the intro scene, but I like the fact they've gone the whole horse. They've kind of got these custom overalls, you know, just the way they've designed it to actually flesh it out still. So although it's not even the career mode, they're still trying to immerse you in the fact that it looks like a real race-like event that you're going to attend to with your driver avatar. So yeah, top props to Cody's. But yeah, really fun event. It's the first time I've done a full race in one of the classic cars on F1 2017, and the first time I've dived into championships mode. And I can safely say I definitely will probably be doing some of these championships as like a full little mini series maybe down the line on the channel, because it was definitely a lot of fun. Just very, very different to obviously the 2017 cars where you're just going flat out and sometimes there's a bit too much of a gap. Just, you know, having a bit of fun in a faster car, trying to overtake and get to the podium. And I'm interested to see maybe you know, some of those double header kind of series where there's a main race and a sprint race, where I mentioned it was like GP2 almost. So looking forward to that. If you guys are, and you definitely do want to see some of that in the future, then do let me know. Obviously, as I mentioned in the career mode video, guys, basically at the moment, I'm only allowed to show a few little bits that Cody's have kind of given a thumbs up for from the game. So basically preview content. And then from Monday midday is when the embargo lifts for me to show anything I want. So basically from Monday 12 PM will be the start of my full career mode. I've gotten the full game a few days early, so that will be dropping from Monday, guys. So be sure to look out for that and get subscribed if you're around here for all of that and more F1 2017 content, and also just generally other racing content in the coming few weeks. It's gonna be an exciting time. We've got plenty of other stuff coming up from this game, and not only this game, also stuff like Need for Speed, Forza Motorsport 7. It's going to be a pretty damn awesome and busy time for the channel in the next month or so. So do get subscribed for all of that. If you did enjoy this one, I would appreciate you smashing the like button, guys. Again, let me know what you thought about anything I've mentioned or you saw in the video. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.